Hi, everyone. Today, welcome to today's session. It's going to be focused on how we can make Imperial more sustainable. As I'm sure you all know, the world is facing a climate and biodiversity crisis, and it's imperative that we make all of our actions have less impact on the environment. We are going to hear from the Imperial Estates Team, who will provide some information on what they're doing to make the university more sustainable. So before we start, just a little bit of housekeeping. So just note that the event will be recorded. So guests can submit questions via the Q&A facility on the right hand of the screen. And if you do not want your questions to appear in your names to appear in the recording, just please select post as anonymous, and then it's going to get rid of your name. We're going to have two presentations and then a panel session where you're going to be able to ask the presenters some really tough questions about their plans and their ambitions to make the campus greener. So the first presentation is going to be by Lidmila Bretskene from she's the soft services coordinator and from the Imperial Estates Division, who will be talking about the sustainable waste and recycling at Imperial. The second presentation will be by Harry Harron, who's the energy engineer at the Imperial Estates Division, and he's going to be talking to us about water sustainability in Imperial. And then Lidmila, Harry, and Sonata Petrauskait, who is the soft services administrator at the Estates Division, will join us for a panel session, and that's when you're going to have tons of time to just ask them lots of questions about what their plans are and about some of the content that you've heard in the presentation. Each of the presentations is going to last about 10 minutes, so we'll have plenty of time for the Q&A. And please, during the presentations, just type your questions and have your questions ready. And also try to make your questions as short as possible, because it's a little bit hard to read really long questions and moderate at the same time. So aim to make your questions as short as you can. So first, I'd like to welcome Lidmila, and thanks again, everyone, for attending today's session. It's welcome.
How can we make Imperial more sustainable? I'm Ludmila Brunetska. I'm working for Estate Department, and I will let you know today give you more information about what we do recycling at Imperial. The most important what we do is waste and recycling. At Imperial College London, the soft service department in estate operation deals with all waste and recycling produced by staff and students in all locations. Everything from plastic to clinical waste are disposed of responsibly and correctly. Why should we reuse and recycle? To comply with waste treatment legislation, it is legal requirement to pre-sort waste before it is collected by a waste contractor, which means the college must do this. It is not optional. It's very important because we are making saving and reductions, material and reuses. We can reuse energy. We save from 20 to 50% of energy. Also, we reduced carbon emission, more money, it's costless, and also amount of general waste. We can do more energy from the waste. As a science of college, we have an obligation to make recycling very seriously, because we have a department with the climate change, and also they asking us to recycle more waste. It's very important to following the waste hierarchy. In college, it is always preferable do not produce the waste in the first place, but that cannot be avoided. It should be reused where possible. The next best option is recycling or composting the waste following by, following by other recovery, energy from waste, and finally disposal of waste via landfill. At the college, we are always trying to push waste up the waste hierarchy where possible. You can see on the screen that, of course, it's better to waste prevention because it's more preferable. Do not produce on first place. Second is reuse if we can. Third one is more majority where we do recycling and composting, and less we are doing for the energy from waste. And the last one is disposal. When we send into landfill, it's also because we can disposal. It's only asbestos and like clinical waste. Resource, not rubbish. Many different types of waste can be reused or recycled. So it is important to treat waste as a resource, not a rubbish. Because as I said before, that we can produce the energy from the waste. What can be recycled? You can see the different type of materials which we can recycle. We can recycle some glass, some hazardous materials, some green waste, also metal, wood, can be recycled plastic, textiles. On this chart, you can see that we cannot recycle, for example, window glass, or in the college, we do not recycle plastic bags. What we do in estates. Not all areas at the college have room for a full set of recycling bins, so that blue and red topped bins are set up in strategic points across the campus to capture larger amount of this type of recycling. In the blue and red topped bins are not available glass and paper, can be put into the green mixed recycling bin, and the paper and glass will be separated out as the specialist facility and recycled. As you can see, most of the college around, the next one, we have our bins. First bin is for the recycling of the batteries only. There you can see 4 different color of the bins. Red is for the glass, green is for the mixed recycling, blue is for paper, and black is for the general waste. Also, you can see printer cartridges where you recycling all your printers or all your printers cartridges, and we recycling where you can recycle all your electrical stuff. And remember, batteries and printer cartridges are classed as electrical waste and must be recycled by law. You cannot put the batteries or the printer cartridges to the general waste bin. What's happened to our mixed recycling? All mixed recycling goes to a material recovery facility or MRF. All recycling is sorted and baled on the scent of the processing facilities to be made on the other items. For example, you can see the big MRF where it's a very big and high technology where they're using laser technology to separate, for example, the plastic from the paper, and also they're using over there magnets and knives. The MRF, it's a high-tech series of machinery that mechanically sorts all recycling waste. At the MRF, all the mixed recycling is sorted and separated into different types of materials. What help is available? On the chart, you can see those the symbols you will see on packaging showing which elements on the packaging can or can't be recycled. You can see all those arrows where it's telling you if you can recycle or you cannot recycle. And when you buy stuff from the shop and when you, for example, putting it to the bin, just please have a look on all those arrows and it's tell you clearly if you can recycle or you cannot. At the Imperial web page, we have got waste directory where you can clearly see what we do recycle at college. It's non-hazardous waste, what is the books, cardboards, chemical drums, and also we do hazardous, which one you can recycle as well. It's, for example, as I said, it's electrical. It means anything with the plug. Also, we can recycle all the lamps and paints. When you go to this web page, you can find more information about all waste disposal forms. Actually, if you want to disposal, for example, some electrical, you need to fill in the disposal form and send it to us. Also, we do we do collect from the department confidential waste, furniture, where as well you can fill in all this form on our web page. What's the problem with the recycling? You know, when we do recycling, could be some different problem like segregation and contamination. Material must be kept separately. Contaminated loads run everyone else's efforts. We engage people to separate and do not contaminate their waste. The implication of not recycling considerably costs taxes of general waste. Recycling is much cheaper or free. Is, as I said before, legal obligation to preserve waste. Fines encourage for non-compliance if we simply send everything for landfill. The importance of getting it right, to make sure that user efforts are not in vain, to gain future support for recycling and for the environment. Because recycling is not optional, we should do this by law. How do we recycle? Recyclable must be placed loose in the chart on that items can be or not in a bag. We can see that, for example, recyclables must be relatively clean. For example, we have got some, like in the students hall, students sometimes recycle their package of food and they can mix with the food. It means only like a bottle of milk can be recycled, but milk they should not put inside the bin. Quality is important as quantity. It's very important when we recycle our waste around. We started at Greening Imperial. We have been working closely with the catering department, with Greening Imperial to encourage more sustainable behavior from the staff and students. Coffee cup levy, reduction of single-use plastic, more vegan and vegetarian option. It depends on the students and staff. More sustainable foods available and reusable food containers. Also, if you can remember that we do not use any more plastic cutlery, we trying to encourage our staff and students to bring their own containers for food, to bring their own bottles for water. It's better for environment. Reuse. The college always encourage reuse where possible. We have a Warpit is our system where you can, it's similar to eBay or some like where you can put your stuff which you are not using and people can climb and can get this. Or if you, for example, don't need table or chair, you just put to the Wopit and you can easily get rid of, but somebody maybe can reuse it. End of the term, students reuse shame. Like when the students finish their term on the summertime, we collecting from them food and we sending this food to the charity. And also we have a clothing bank where can students all the time put their clothes, and as well the British Heart Foundation company coming and collecting, and they are selling in the charity shops. How you can help and what we expect from you. We expecting from you, follow the waste hierarchy, segregate all waste correctly and put all waste into the correct containers. Do not use single plastic. Consider reusable options such as reusable coffee cups and water bottles. Reduce food waste, but only buying and preparing what you need. Reuse as much as you can using at the college reuse shames. What do we do next? Next, our project is to recycle lab recycling. As the part of the LEAF program, we are looking at putting recycling facilities into labs across the campus to capture uncontaminated recyclable packaging waste such as cardboard. A trial is underway at the Burlington Dance, it's Hammersmith building, and successful it will be rolled out of the other labs across the college. We just, as I said, we just started this. Possibility of recycling disposable gloves that have not been contaminated in labs. A trial will be set up at one location and it's successful will be rolled out of the across of the other campuses. Food waste. Currently, all food waste from catering outlets is composted. However, what is about to change? A new food waste tank will be installed on site to capture all food waste produced at the catering outlets on the South Kensington site. Food is macerated and stored on site in a large tank. Once full tank is emptied into a tanker and the food waste taken to the anaerobic digestion plant where it's used to produce electricity. Unfortunately, at the moment, as we are closed during the pandemic, we don't produce much of the food, but in the future it would be really useful because we can produce as much as energy. Also, I will wish to tell here about I mentioned it before about the food waste and students' halls, where students do separate food waste by themselves, and we are all thinking it's need to be improved. Also, it's a better communication. Soft service are going to review all waste and recycling poster used through the campus to try and improve on what we have. We need to encourage more people to reduce the amount of waste that they produce and segregate waste properly. Be engaging more with staff and students. Tell us, what do you think? What would you be willing to do? You can send us all your ideas and we're gonna work on it to make sure that our waste and recycling working better. Increased waste sorting. As I mentioned, we have a quite a lot of issue with the food sorting at the students' hall. It's another possibility that we will explore in increased waste sorting on site to improve the quality of recycling and to do capture any recycling waste that may have been placed in the incorrect bins. This is very labor intensive and has large associated cost. Please let us know your thoughts and any idea you may have. You can contact us and send us all your ideas and we will work on that. And at the end you can see some links on the videos. Please watch that video and it will be very helpful for you to make sure that you do waste and recycling around college much more better. Thank you very much.
Hello, everybody. I hope you can hear me. My name is Harry Harron, and I work for Estates Operation, and I look after the water initiatives for the Estates Operation. So I'd like to briefly explain what we do in Estates Operation for water conservation initiatives. So what do we do for water management at the moment? Before I mention water management, I'd just like to mention water in general. Unlike electricity and gas, which have been opened up to competition by the government back in the 90s, water itself is only recently been open for competition. The reason I'm mentioning this is because it's good news for customers like ourselves and also for the supply companies. Because of course, the more we save, the more they save in terms of benefits. So it's good all around. So what do we do at college? Well, basically, we have engaged with a water management agent called Advanced Demand Side Management to look after our water management on a 5-year scheme called Aquafund Grant Scheme. This is a UK government framework, and it enables the water management company, ADSM, to seek where water can be saved within our campuses. And any water that we save in terms of conservation and in terms of all the work they do for us and the costs will be shared between us as the college and the water management company ADSM. So really there's not very much cost to the college. It's a 5-year scheme, and now we are in the 3rd year of the scheme. It was initiated in 2018, so we've got 2 more years after our 3rd year. So what do they do for us? Basically, they carry out surveys of our building. These surveys compare our usage to comparable buildings in the country, through published benchmarks. One such benchmark is the Chartered Institute of Building Services Engineer, or CIBSE for short. But we also use benchmarks from other published sources for offices, lab use, and for accommodation block. This benchmark enables us to prioritize water conservation work and provides us with a background information on how we're performing. One of the measures that we use is the installation of AMR, which is automated meter read. Some of you may already know about this in your home for electricity and gas through your supplier. These meters enable us to monitor the water consumption in a much shorter period, between 15 and half an hour. Previously, if we were to rely on our water supply companies, the water meter information would be very short indeed, and if we are very lucky, we may get 2 reads in a year. Obviously, this is no use to us, because if there was a leak, we would be a very long time before we even notice it. Sometimes leaks can carry on for months, if not years. Through the information that we receive from the AMR, we can monitor and target and improve our benchmark, and it's a very useful piece of information for us. One of the other measures that the ADSM are providing is the installation of washroom controls. Washroom controls provide us with infrared sensors which detect presence of anyone entering a certain washroom. These there are about 190 infrared sensors linked to water controls at present. ADSM are also providing specialist investigations for buildings, boiler rooms, and plant room equipment, and these have been quite invaluable. In the past, we've carried out investigations for autoclaves and rather large boiler rooms where water is consumed in large volumes. ADSM also working with our suppliers in correcting historical billing issues, and some of this information is useful for us to find out where our water is going, and whether we're being billed correctly, and whether we could do better in terms of our cost and consumption. I'd just like to mention a few items in terms of what we'd like to do for the future. Firstly, there's a huge amount of steam and hot water network in South Kensington, for instance. This is quite expensive to run, and also the steam itself is quite a expensive commodity in terms of the steam that's used around the system, and as well as the water that's consumed. So we're looking into reducing this as much as possible. So that's one area. Just like to say, the steam is used for process and also for many of our autoclaves around South Kensington at the moment. Another measure is the installation of better and efficient WCs. So most WCs have nowadays have dual function as a water conservation measure, but if we can reduce this further, it would really help us. So our maintenance team are trialing toilets which, when closed using the lid, produces a vacuum action, which obviously because of the pressure built up in the vacuum, there is less water to be used in a flush. So I mentioned monitoring in terms of automatic meter reading meters. What we'd like to do is to improve this to provide us with granular level water monitoring. At the moment, the meters produce a building level monitoring data, but what we want to do is to monitor particular areas, for instance, a lab or an office or a plant, and we can do this with granular level monitoring so that we know where the water is being used, and try and assess our performance in a more granular level. Some of you already know, we can save water through rainwater harvesting. We are implementing these measures in new buildings, but what we'd like to do is to increase our wastewater management and conservation by increasing the use of grey water. Now, grey water is basically water that's gone through the system once and can't be used for drinking, but can be used for other purposes, such as flushing WCs. And then finally, something for the future, which is the Internet of Things for water. Basically, this is smarter controls for each of our water consuming devices, wash basins, showers, kitchens. These controls enable the maintenance to monitor its use, and if a fault was to be found, it can alert them, and then the maintenance team can action this straight away. We're doing this already for lighting at present in many of our newer buildings, so this is a move towards water for the future. And then finally, I just wanted to give you a few tips, and I apologize if these are quite simple, but they do help in general. Turning off dripping taps. Typically, a dripping tap can consume 5,500 litres a year, and this is information sourced from the Water Organisation UK. Please do turn off any dripping taps. If you see a leak anywhere in our campuses, please do report it to the Estates Operation Customer Services Centre. The email is on there, and it would enable our maintenance team to action these incidents quickly. As I mentioned before, we do have quite a lot of low flush or dual flush toilets around the campuses. Please try to use it appropriately. Using it appropriately, we could say between 3 and 5 litres per flush. We have many showers in our accommodation blocks for the students and other areas, and we don't have controls at the moment, but we do have them in our sports centre, and I've been in the Ethos, and they have push button type controls that measure the amount of water in a particular shower, so it not only alerts you of the shower time, but also reduces the amount of water that's being used. Finally, one for everybody, if you've got a washing machine or a dishwasher, sometimes they have an eco setting which not only controls water but also energy. Information that I have is that using a dishwasher in its efficiency mode consumes about 3,000 litres per year, and using your hand washing facility, you're using 10,500 litres per year. So there's a big difference in the savings. So using the eco is a good option, but some of you may ask, well, it does use electricity, so the carbon footprint might be higher. I just wanted to say, in the recent decarbonisation of the grid electricity, with the use of renewable energy such as wind and solar, the factor is getting very close to the point where it is best to use a dishwasher. And then finally, I just want to mention leaf. I know that Professor Paul Lickers has already mentioned this in the introduction yesterday. I'm managing this at the moment, and this is a holistic approach to the labs. So LEAF actually stands for Laboratory Efficiency Assessment Framework. So it's a holistic approach to energy, waste, and water. So I encourage those labs, or pretty much all labs, to participate this year. So if you would like some more information, please do contact myself or Professor Paul Lickers. And finally, the end of my presentation. Thank you very much. If I can help you with anything at all in terms of water or energy, please do get in touch with me, and I'll do my best to help you. Thank you.
Thank you, Harry, for a great presentation, and thank you, Lidmila, as well. So just as a quick reminder, everyone. So hello, I'm Dr. Miranda Mills from the Center of Environmental Policy, and I'm here with Lidka Brentska, Harry Haran, and Sonata Pretask from Imperial Estates Division. We'll now be answering your questions on Imperial's existing work and its plans on sustainability. So just as a quick reminder, everyone in the audience can submit questions via the Q&A facility on the right hand of your screen. So yeah, so thank you, Harry and Lidmila, for a great presentation. Lidmila, if you can add us or turn your cameras on, that would be great. So then we can see you and Sonata as it's part of this panel session as well. Perfect, thank you. So just questions. I think the first one that has come up in the chat was just asking about waste. So if I'll just jump onto the question. So the first just before I jump onto it, Lidmila, does the college actually track how much waste it produces?
Yes, we do.
And how has that changed recently? Has that changed much?
In last few years, yeah, we do more recycling. We are really good for the recycling. Even the company Veolia, who is coming to collect our rubbish, they all the time keep telling us we are really good in recycling.
Cool. And so one of the questions from the audience was whether if you've ever compared Imperial's recycling and production of rubbish with other universities, just to see how we are within.
I'm not really sure about. Sorry, we can give you this answer later. We need to speak to Nick Dent.
Cool. Thank you. I've got one for you, Harry.
Yes, okay.
So has the use of dual flush toilets been reviewed, and are they regularly checked for leaks?
It's a tricky question for me to answer. Dual flush toilets are basically almost mandatory now, as I understand it. So when new toilets are fitted, they are a requirement as part, please, I'm not absolutely sure on this, but building regulations require them to be fitted. And this is all part of the government initiative to save water. Now, we've had issues with these toilets because people or the users are sometimes unsure of how to use them and why they're there. And I suppose it's up to us in order to sort of encourage users to use it appropriately. I mean, you find these type of toilet systems, flush systems, in not only in our buildings, but also in our homes as well. Now, I think what you may be asking, if you were asking about the newer type of WCs, what we want to do is to invest it in technology that goes a bit further than that. We've got a few WCs which we're trialing at the moment. One such system is when you close the lid, it forms a kind of a vacuum. Thereby, because of the pressure requirements are less, it simply just flushes it very, very, very efficiently. Now we're trialing this at the moment, and also some other versions of this in our maintenance team. And as soon as they become successful, we'd like to roll them out. So the dual system is something that is already available. It's just we need to get the users to use it appropriately, and also think about, when they do use it, that little effort that you put in does save water for us all. And water is a very precious commodity. Even though we may have plenty of it, it is a precious commodity at the end of the day.
And what about the bit of the question where they're asking for about leaks? Does Imperial do anything to check for leaks? I'm guessing a lot of the pipelines would be quite old.
Okay. Now, in terms of the leaks, the controls that we're putting in the metering of buildings and in the control measures in terms of the presence detectors. If there are leaks, there are signages on each washroom to contact a maintenance team straight away. Now we can't at the moment, unfortunately, be able to detect leaks on every single device we have in terms of sinks and WCs. This is why we're looking at in the future to connect these devices on the Internet of Things, and which enables us to monitor leaks much more efficiently, and hopefully we'll pick these issues quickly. But at the moment we're in a transition period where we're doing quite a lot manually.
Cool, that sounds great. So a question back for Lidmila,
Yes.
if you can hear me.
Yes.
Great. There are a few questions about the composting. So one of the questions is that you're talking about a lot of the food waste being composted. So where is it done, and how? I guess it would be wonderful to have compost bins around the cafeteria areas, right? At Imperial, is there a plan for that?
Yes, we are thinking about, like, for example, as I said before, all food waste from residential hall, we have got company who is coming to collect it from us. And all food waste from campus, South Kensington campus only, we used to produce to compost. In the past. In the future, we are waiting for new machine, which I said it would be installed in the Sheffield building, where food from the kitchen will go straight away to this machine, and the company coming to collect, and they will reuse for the energy. But for the food waste in the cafeteria area, you mean that where students can put to the bin? We were thinking about, but at the moment we are not sure. We need to wait.
What are we waiting for?
We are waiting because, like, as I said, a few years ago, I do remember we had the students who come and they done some trial, and they put some food waste to the JCR and senior common room, and not really much food went into the food bins. What I said we are waiting for, maybe we need to do more posters to make sure people know about it. But we have got this in the mind.
Yeah, wonderful.
Yeah,
another question for you.
They done really very well that trial, and I said no, really many people done this.
Yeah, but maybe things have changed, right? I think now in the last couple of years, I guess the climate and the environmental crisis is in people's heads a lot more. And another question for you, Ludmila, is are there current plans to pair recycling bins up with waste bins across the college sites? So I think what they mean is that at the moment there's waste bins or recycling bins, but they're often not found together, and that would be really useful.
No. For example, inside the building, we have got, as I said, some bins, general waste and dry mix recycling, where can go plastic, glass, and paper inside. But outside of the campus, there are as well those you can see black our bins with the general and dry mix recycling. Can they specify maybe which?
I think they were suggesting that sometimes they're not found together. So they find one, either the recycling bin or the general bin.
No, in the campus around the outside on the street, they are together.
They should be together. Okay.
Yes, they are general and dry mix recycling. They are together, and also all those bin inside the building, they are all the time in pair. They never separate.
Yeah. Okay. So sorry, there's a lot of questions about waste here. So a lot of questions.
That's okay. You're right.
So one person says that some companies now offer no single-use coffee cups. Instead, customers without a cup must pay a deposit for a reusable cup, which they can keep for future use or return after use. Is that something that the university would consider doing?
As we said, we are trying to encourage people to bring their own cups, which they can reuse all the time for the coffee, and bottled water for the water. We stopped to using those single cups in the old cafeteria. And plus, as I don't know in our cafeteria, but for example, Starbucks and all others, you will buy coffee for less money than if you bring your reusable cup.
I've got a question, which is just so how much leverage does the estates division have over these other shops that are within the cafeteria or within the South Kensington campus? Can you tell them what they have to do, or is that up to them?
Actually, we cannot tell them what to do, but there is a college policy, what they're supposed to follow the policy.
Okay.
But we don't have a power to tell them, unfortunately.
Cool. Sorry, Harry?
Yeah, I just wanted to add that really this is a question really for campus services in general, rather than just waste, I think. I know in terms of plastic cups, as I understand, we're reducing plastic cups by, or bottled plastic bottles by making available vending machines and so that you can take your own cup and then fill water. And I know I'm working on a project at the moment for hopefully if it will, after our lockdown, we'd like to install a vending machine in the college campus, not only for the college users, but also for the general public, and so that if you want some water, you can bring your own vessel and then you can use the water rather than buying more plastic. That's one initiative. But going back to the main question, really, I think it's for another team within campus services to answer this, I think. I know they were on yesterday in the general presentation by Professor Paulikas.
Yeah, cool. That's great. Another question I have here is, how has the developing COVID situation affected the sustainability strategy, especially with regards to water and waste?
Shall I answer?
Yeah.
Okay. I believe the amount of water in general is, although I can't conclude this yet because we're still looking at data. We're obviously using less because there are less people in the campuses, but a campus as large as South Kensington still has lots of processes which have to be maintained. So I don't think it will be that much of a change, but that's my sort of area of work in terms of the maintenance and looking after the buildings in general, and the processes. They are still happening in the background, but perhaps campus services can answer and the other question, which is to do with the catering side, but I can't answer that at the moment. But definitely, yes, we still have buildings in operation all the time.
Yeah.
But when we look at the data more closely, coming to the end of the lockdown, we will be able to give a more accurate information.
Cool, thank you. So just to remind the audience, please type your questions on the right side of the screen. I've got a few more here, but yeah, I would love to hear from all of you. So one question is about Imperial's carbon emissions, and do you know, with all this waste, and I guess just more in general, how have you been tracking Imperial's carbon emissions? Are there plans to offset anything, or minimize obviously first, but then offset? What's the current plan there?
In terms of emissions, I have a colleague within our team. We are collecting this information, and we publish this on an annual basis as a sustainability report from the Estates Operations team. So when the last year's is available on the website, this year's we're preparing at the moment. So all of that information in terms of waste, energy, water, all this will be published in terms of the operations side. So last year's actually is available, and our aim is to keep track of this and try and reduce this. So as Professor Paul Lucas has mentioned, we have got targets that and ambitions in terms of reducing this, and this is what we're going to be following. Soon we will be introducing science-based targets, so to capture as much information as possible. So the idea is really to reduce everything, and I'd like just to mention that the college is doing a great deal of work in terms of energy, water, waste, and in particular waste. I know that they are doing a huge amount of work in reducing waste. So all this information is actually available on our yearly sustainability report.
Wonderful, cool. I can't wait to read it. I'm really interested. One of the last questions, and this is a question from me. I've run out of questions from the audience, so if nobody adds another question, I'll start wrapping it up. But so I'm really interested in nature and biodiversity. And is there anything around that? Trying to plant biodiversity friendly species around the college, and trying to improve the I guess our impact by actually having a positive impact. Is that something the Estates Divisions considers?
Yes. Yesterday, I don't know if you saw the presentation from the introduction from the Provost and Professor Paul Lucas. He went through a presentation yesterday and showed a picture of the secret gardens, which is behind it, Princess Gardens. That's an area where we're looking into introducing well, some already there. I think some beekeeping is there, and some other sorts of biodiversity. We're also looking at some of our buildings, for instance, on the east side accommodation. On the roof, there is a green roof, which is designed to absorb water. So you may know about SUDS, which is sustainable urban drainage systems. Basically, instead of rainwater going down to the waste and filling up our sewage systems, if we were to use SUDS, they absorb some of the water, and the green roofs provide that, as well as providing a good environment for biodiversity as well. Mm-hmm. So that's two areas, but we have got some of them in our other campuses as well, but I haven't got all of the details. But we are doing as much as we can, but it is difficult in an urban built-up area such as London to provide this. But we do have a very large campus in Silwood, which has a lot of biodiversity in term, and obviously I think the biological courses are all run or environmental courses are run in Silwood. So that's a really good area for improving biodiversity. But yes, we are looking at it all the time.
Yeah, that sounds really great. I know there's a lot of students who would be really interested in engaging with this as well. So thank you so much, Harry, and thank you, Lidmila. This has been really interesting. Thanks, audience, for staying with us and sending all your questions. And I hope everybody has a really nice afternoon. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.